The Mark III Toyota Supra has been officially confirmed for No Limit Drag Racing 2.0, along with a bunch of other features that we're going to go ahead and dive right into. But not only do we have these new features to go over, but we also have some actually hilariously spicy comment responses from whoever the No Limit Drag Racing Facebook page admin is. And also, I just want to go ahead and clarify right here at the top of the video that anytime I will show responses to any of the Facebook comments, the names and the profile pictures will be blurred out or omitted completely to protect the privacy of those commenters. But with that, let's dive into the first comment. Now, this one says, appreciate the import love, but stop with all of the camber, which honestly doesn't make any sense because there's tons of real world race cars and professional drift cars, for example, that have a bunch of camber in the front, but we'll gloss over that because apparently this person thinks they're just for stance cars. Either way, the No Limit devs were just like, you don't have to use it. If you don't want to use it, you can literally leave it alone and never touch it. And this is kind of something that I don't get anytime a developer releases an update for a game and someone doesn't like a certain element of it. They'll go absolutely off the rails about how much they hate whatever this feature is supposed to be. And for one, the feature wouldn't be in the game if there weren't people that wanted that feature. And two, if you hate the feature that much, seriously, just don't use it. That's like driving by a car dealership and noticing that they have some yellow cars for sale and being like, well, I just hate yellow cars and I could not ever imagine buying one, so remove them all from the dealership. Why would anybody ever buy one? And I'm like, well, you may not want to drive a yellow car, but I can guarantee you there's someone out there that does. The next comment said they hope that it comes without the fender flares, and it being the Mark III Supra, and the devs confirmed that it does in fact have the ability to not run the flares. So you can run it pretty much however way you visually want to. So if you want it completely stock body with no flares whatsoever, it does actually look like that's going to be something we'll be able to do. And so if you're someone that prefers to keep a more stock body appearance, I don't think we're going to have any issues doing that. And the other really good thing about that is that it allows for a wide variety of different visual styles in builds. Because again, some people like to stick with a very almost sleeper looking body, whereas others like to go super over the top and big flares and big wide body. And it all comes down to how you personally like to build your cars. And the more options and more freedom we have in terms of that, I think the better. Because again, it goes back to the other comment that we talked about earlier where they were like, well, why is this feature in the game? Why did you add that? I don't like it. And it's like, if you don't like it, don't use it. Now, this next one is something I see come up sort of all the time in the spaces around both of these games. And that is, so I guess y'all are done with Off-Road Outlaws. And the devs replied, nope. And to be honest, I just don't really understand where the people get this idea that like, when they announce new content for one game, that they're all of a sudden somehow done, quote unquote, with the other one. Because why would that make sense? Like in what way would that make sense for the series? Because every single time we've gotten an Off-Road Outlaws update or a No Limit update or vice versa, there's always people that say on one side or the other, oh, so does this mean you're dropping Off-Road Outlaws? Or, oh, does this mean you're dropping No Limit? And like, people are so fast to jump onto the developers to say, oh, you're just dropping this one or dropping the other one. And it's like, they are allowed to work on different things at the same time. So I don't understand where this comes from. I can only imagine that it comes out of maybe frustration in some way, but rest assured, once again, they are not dropping Off-Road Outlaws whatsoever, and they have confirmed this multiple times, and it's actually something I have to touch on in every single update video that I do on either one of these games, and that is that no, they are not dropping one or the other. Another thing that I saw a lot when the Supra was announced was people saying that, oh, it's just going to come with another LS, or, oh, it's just going to have the same engine as everything else, so why bother, yada, yada, yada. And I'm just like, the same thing was confirmed to not be true in the last info drop when they showed that engine that looked kind of similar to an RB. So again, I'm sure it's not going to be a one-to-one recreation of an RB or a 2J or anything like that. It's probably just going to be kind of a like a mishmash of various parts and styles from different Japanese engines of that time period. But again, this is not going to be something that's going to have the same V8 as everything else, not even remotely. But with that, let's go ahead and get into some of the questions that I'm sure y'all are going to have for me personally regarding a lot of the topics that we discussed in this video. Now, one of them that I want to talk about is I'm sure we're going to get questions about the release date. We don't have a release date for this update yet. We just know it is a work in progress and it is on the way soon. We're just going to have to wait for more info from the developers on that specifically. Now, whenever one of these updates drops or even gets close to dropping, another thing that I get a lot of questions about is after the update does drop, there are a lot of people that seem to have difficulty getting the update on their devices. So one of the biggest things that I have to go ahead and let y'all know with these updates, and I know that to some of y'all this might be, it might seem obvious, it might seem like basic knowledge, but either way, it's something that I still get a lot of questions about, so we're going to answer it anyway. Now, that is when the update does drop, you may still have to go to your app store and manually download the new update itself. Now, obviously, you're going to have to wait for the entire rollout across the board for the update to even appear on your app store, of course. But once the app store does have access to the update itself, it should become available on your app store. And if it's not, and you're seeing a bunch of your friends download it and talk about it and this, that, and the other, make sure to go to your app store, refresh it, and if it's still not there, then it may have just not yet rolled out in your region, because usually the regional rollouts kind of are supposed to be as synced up as possible, but they don't always sync up perfectly, nor do the Android and iOS releases. They don't always sync up perfectly either. So sometimes an Android user may get it earlier, sometimes an iOS user might get it earlier. It just all comes down to how the rollouts go, and the developers of these games, No Limit Drag Racing and Off-Road Outlaws, they only have control over when they submit the update to the mobile platforms. And then after that, it's kind of out of their own control and they're at the mercy, so to speak, of the mobile platforms themselves. Now, just to recap, this is what the upcoming engine model looks like. And again, a lot of people have likened this to RB series engines. However, again, it's kind of a mishmash of a bunch of different parts. I said in a prior video that the intakes specifically looked like the particular cone style intakes that HKS sells. So again, but they sell those for kind of just about every engine at this point, so you can kind of get them for anything, and that doesn't really confirm any specific details of the engine. Now, if you wanted to kind of go into something like, I don't know, identifying the specifics of the valve cover design and this, that, and the other, you kind of could if you really wanted to, but at the moment, I'm kind of just going to refer to it as a generic JDM turbo engine, and we'll see where it goes from there. Because really at this point, we're just going to have to wait for more info, and there's nothing much else we can do until, of course, the update releases. Now, once the update releases, we're going to be diving into it in as much detail as we humanly possibly can. Now, we're going to be doing builds of the new cars. We're going to be checking out the new sounds. We're going to be doing some multiplayer online racing with the new cars. We're going to be diving into the tuning. We're going to be seeing how all of these new drive types work and doing so much more. So if y'all are excited for any of that, make sure you hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for everything No Limit Drag Racing related moving forward. And last but certainly not least, let me know in the comments down below if you just so happened to be any of the people I raced in this video, because it's always fun to go and record gameplay on this game, because every once in a while someone will show up in the comment section and be like, oh, so that was you racing me. And I'm like, uh-huh. It's always like such a fun moment when that happens. But this S10 and I went back and forth. There was actually a bunch of really good battles, and it ended up being one of those races where it was always close, and it kind of just came down to whoever made a mistake, because we were running such similar times. It was just like, it literally came down to whoever made a mistake first. And those usually do end up being some of the most fun battles you can ever have in this game. But I'm probably getting super rambly now, and if I am, well, It's good because that's kind of where we're about to end the video. So once again, if y'all did enjoy, let me know any thoughts, opinions, or suggestions, or even requests that you might have in that comment section down below. But that's going to do it for this one, y'all, and I will see y'all next time.